you've talked about how Hezbollah is always with the oppressed and always considers the cause of the oppressed wherever they may be. Now, we all know that Islamophobia is great in the West, especially Muslims that live as immigrants in the West. Now, you yourself as an academic person and as a person active in the politics of Lebanon, what do you see the role of Muslims living in the West to be? How do you see their role?
To tell you the truth, one of the very important things that Muslims everywhere, I mean, in their individual life and in their communal life, that they have to display always. You have, if you believe in Islam, in this religion, you have to be good to everything in this life. Not only for human beings, for trees and for animals, and for the earth and for the dirt and for everything. I mean, there is a responsibility, there is a message that you hold, that you are endowed with, and you are responsible for it. And we believe, as all Muslims believe, that there will be a day when God will ask you about everything that you did or you didn't do in this life. Because sometimes when you don't do anything about oppression, then you are going to be responsible and asked for not enjoying the good in any way possible. My understanding that it's very important, because our religion, our deep convictions as Muslims, that we have a message to relay for all of the world, that this is the religion of peace, this is the religion of tolerance, this is the religion of love, this is the religion of helping each other. So the best thing that they can do to be good citizens. If they are good citizens in the West, then people will start to admire Islam and love Islam, and this myth that has always been built on for generations, it will be shattered. But when you have certain Muslims who act in an irrational and irresponsible way, then they would be causing the damage. And this is my understanding, and I'm responsible for it, that the damage that has been dealt to Islam, or the damage that has been caused to Islam, was from Muslims, I mean, quote unquote, rather than by non-Muslims, whether Westerners or Christians or whatever. Because, I mean, the worst thing that you do is to give the wrong image about your religion, about your Islam. And this is what they are very clever doing in the Western media, in the mainstream media. I mean the mainstream media that follow the governments with little exceptions, because you don't have alternative media. And again, I go to the war of terminology. Of course, if you are going to depict certain Muslims who act irrationally, or they go and do terrorist attacks, then this is going to give a grave and very damaged image about Islam. We were the first people to condemn 9/11. We were the first people to condemn what happened in London with the explosions. And I tell you, the BBC didn't condemn these explosions as much as we did, for example, Hezbollah. I was the head of political programs in a TV station and the head of the news department in English. And I didn't go to anybody. I didn't ask anybody. It's a policy line that I condemned the terrorist attacks in 9/11. I condemned any attack against civilians anywhere. So, I mean, this tells you that it's endowed within us. It's not something that you wait for someone to tell you about, actually. It's something that you believe in and that you act and dramatize in your life. This is the kind of thing that we believe in.
You mentioned that, you know, the damage that has been done to Islam, to Muslims, mainly came from so-called quote-unquote Muslims. Now, one of the damages that there is tension that is trying to be fostered within our own ummah. What steps can we as Muslims take, practical steps, to bridge the divide, to create better unity within the Muslim ummah?
Well, when you talk about the Muslim ummah, we have to understand that Muslims are not in one single civilized moment. You have huge discrepancies between one community and another. Here, we're just like other human beings. We grow up, we mature, we understand, we lack certain knowledge, we act irrationally sometimes. We do know that this is a combination of many complexities, actually. The level of education, the level of understanding, the mixage. When you go and mix with other people, if you study the nature of Islam, the very nature of Islam is pluralistic, for example. When they talk about does Islam give a space for other parties or for other people to, for example, exercise their own rituals or to exercise their own worshipping. I can give you as many examples as you want about that. The first state in Islam, actually, it had many minorities within the Islamic state under the Prophet Muhammad, and it was a pluralistic system of governance there, and everyone has had its own rights and full freedom in worshipping and in exercising their rituals and in doing all their daily affairs, merchandise, commercial, plowing, planting, other things. So I believe the most important thing here is to understand the real nature of Islam. There are certain people and there are certain groups, actually, organized groups unfortunately, and they have huge budgets, who spend these budgets on like mistakenly and wrongly teach Islam as well. And this is going to bring some generations that are not like in total coincidence with the real meaning of Islam and what Islam means actually. That's why you have these kind of extremists, or like, I don't accept this kind of terminology again, but people who understood Islam in a very closed way, and they try to exercise it in certain places, I mean, in this way. But the most important thing is to go and concentrate on the commonalities, and we have so many commonalities. The most important thing is to spread the awareness and to educate people, because knowledge is very important. Awareness is very important. When people are aware about their situation, about their future, about their ongoing affairs, then they would stick to others. It's the education which is very important. It's the leaders that are very important. We have to have this kind of complete coordination. Then you would have unity in Islam. I mean, not only in Islam, when you talk the whole people, I mean, go to the hadith and say that, oh people, we have created you from male and female, so you could get together and get acquainted and then be good people. So the first thing is to know the other. When you don't know the other, then there is a problem. And that's the reason for Islamophobia. Why, like the Western populations, the Western masses, they are afraid of Islam. And whenever anything happens, they say, because the media keep feeding them that Muslims are terrorists. So they equate Islam with terrorism. This is one of the problems. But I can tell you a very good example now. Only a few days ago, the Holy Quran has been burned in the United States of America, which represents the highest value and sanctity and sacredness. This is the most sacred text in Islam, actually. If you don't believe in one verse, then you are not a Muslim. This is well-known fact. What was the reaction of Muslims? What was the reaction of Muslims? I mean, in general, they condemned this action, and this is a very grave humiliation and insult to Islam. And it happened in one of the so-called most civilized and democratic societies in the world, in the United States of America. They didn't do anything about it, and they didn't consider this something that they should sue or hold the one who did it responsible. Actually, it was done by someone, a clergyman, by a Christian man, by a man of a church. So this would tell you that there is a growing tolerance in Islam, but not to these kind of things, actually, because such a thing would invite more extremism from certain people who don't understand the real nature of Islam. This is going to provoke them more and more into doing actions that boost and deeply entrench the negative aspects about Islam that they have in their own minds. I believe one of the things that they keep busying us about is that they provoke you and they do something that incite the hatred or provoke the sentiments and emotions, and this is not going to boil down to the interest of Islam and Muslims, and not to the whole good and the public good everywhere.